Welcome back to the Malvern College podcast, where we bring together the community to explore more about life inside and outside the school from the point of view of pupils, staff and parents. Each week we'll be talking to members of the community to find out more, hear their stories and get a little deeper into the fabric of life around the school. In this episode, we're talking to pupils Jacob and Georgina, chapel prefects at the college, who'll be explaining to us firstly what it means to be a chapel prefect. We'll hear how Malvern College is shaping students for their lives and also how to balance academic studies with co-curricular life. So come with me as we step into this conversation.
So today I'm going to the sharp end of Malvern College and catching up with two of its pupils, Jacob and Georgina, who I hope very much are going to educate me in the ways of Malvern College. Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Now, I understand that you are both chapel prefects. I haven't a clue what that means. Jacob, you're a senior chapel prefect. Tell me what you do, what roles you have and what responsibilities you have.
Okay, so there's 6 of us with the prefects of the school. And firstly, at the start of the year, we addressed all the pupils, just so firstly they know who we are, and also give some of our supposed wisdom. And I think hopefully that will just help them make some decisions throughout their time and maybe shape what they get involved with through school. We meet with the school leadership team a couple of times a week. Over this year, quite different circumstances, but we've been a key role in talking about gender equality, Black Lives Matter movement. When we were away from school, just thinking about how we could take some of the time away from the screens and just focus on getting the right balance. And then finally, we set up events throughout the year. Something new this year was the silent discos, and I think those have been quite well received throughout the school.
So tell me, Georgina, what qualities do you need then to become a chapel prefect?
Well, I think you need to be a person that people can trust, so they can feel they can come to you, not just with their problems, but also with any ideas they might have. Because we are a great way of passing ideas or feedback up to the senior management team because we do meet with them so frequently. And I also think because we are meant to be role models, you need to be not just willing but enthusiastic to get involved with things and contribute to the school community in your own way. Basically, you just have to represent as many of the Malvern qualities, we call them, as possible.
Gosh, it sounds exhausting. So how do you get chosen, Jacob?
I think all the teachers vote. I think there's a system which goes through that, and then the senior leadership team puts together a group of pupils which then get a letter or an interview, and then we go talk to the headmaster and the deputy head and try and impress them with all the amazing things we've done over our time at Malvern, and then we may get chosen.
Is that nerve-wracking?
I was very nervous for mine.
I'll bet.
I think they did give us some notice. I think I had 4 or 5 days, so managed to do some preparation beforehand.
Georgina, how were you? Were you cool?
I think I was nervous, but I think it was definitely easier for us than it was for the new chapel prefects this year because they've had to do their interviews online, and I wouldn't have liked that, I don't think.
So when are you actually appointed and how long do you serve?
We serve a year, and then because in the last term of upper sixth we tend to be focusing on exams. Obviously it's slightly different this year, so this term me and Jacob are no longer chapel prefects as such. We've passed on the torch. And so you change over 2/3 of the way through the year.
And have you enjoyed it? Both of you. Jacob first, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it just gives you the platform really to try and get involved as much as you can, and also it's been quite interesting seeing how the schools actually run and the decisions which are made behind everything. And it's definitely a lot harder planning the events rather than just turning up and taking part. So unique insight into that.
Georgina, do you sort of feel the weight of expectation from the other pupils who expect you to sort of be going to bat for them?
I mean, I think people do want you to represent them, but at the same time, they do understand that we are still only students. We're not up there on the senior management team, and they do want us to be on their side, but they do still respect the fact that we are still only pupils.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Tell me more then, Georgina. What's it like to be a pupil at Malvern College, and what's your favourite part of it all?
Well, I think it's really hard to generalise what being a student at Malvern College means, because it is so different for every pupil. They all have such different experiences. So obviously we all have lessons, and we have things expected of us. So homework, or hall as we call it. But then I think what really defines us is our free time and what we choose to do with it, because there are just so many things to get involved with. And whether you try debating or foreign affairs society, or equally as valid, you just spend time with your friends, because it is so important. We've learned how important these interactions are over the last year, where we haven't been able to have them because of lockdowns. And this free time is where people really have an opportunity to define themselves. And what you get involved with does really shape your experience of Malvern, because that shapes who you spend your time with. Personally, my favourite part about Malvern is just the individuality of students, and that comes from these co-curricular activities that we have, and the fact that everyone has their own passions and interests. It wouldn't be possible without the opportunities for independence that we're given. That's only possible because there is such an extensive support system, really, because it gives students more confidence to try stepping out of their comfort zone and their little bubble, and they can try being more independent. And in my opinion, that's really the underlying principle which shapes the diversity of the interests that you'll find at Malvern.
And Jacob, are you conscious at your age now, obviously you've got to the top, are you conscious that what you do now at Malvern and the opportunities you can take are actually shaping you for your next stage of life?
Oh, definitely. I think specifically in sixth form, I've started diverting more of my time into life after Malvern. So I've started taking part in the Wheeler Bennett Society, and that's the sixth form academic society, where it's pupil-led lectures. So I've really enjoyed doing that, because it's almost like a university setting where there's a lecture and then people ask questions afterwards. So I've enjoyed, broadening, my understanding of different topics. And also I have a passion for medicine, so I've been in the medical society for the last couple of years, and we debate on lots of different topics. Might be organ transplantation or euthanasia. So I've really enjoyed doing that.
Big topics.
Yeah.
Now, you're a day pupil and you joined from the Downs, and you play an instrument, the saxophone, you lucky man. Always wanted to do that. How important is music at Malvern College, and is it sort of accessible to everyone?
I think it's not going to be important to everyone. Like Georgina said, individuality is so important. So if you are a keen musician and you want to get involved with it, there's a great team at the music department. I've really enjoyed taking part in music. I've been a member of the different bands, the concert band, the jazz band, and the different choirs. Probably the highlights for me are going on tour with the different jazz bands, and we went to London with the chamber choir last year to take part in a national singing competition. So that was really fun. And like you said, it is accessible to everyone. Going to these competitions, that might be if you've been in the band a few years, but if you want to literally just get started, you can sign yourself up for a lesson or come get involved with one of the practices. So it's a great way to meet new people as well when you join Malvern.
So Georgina, Malvern College offers both the A-levels and IB. Tell me about your route and why you took it and what your aspirations are for the future.
Yeah, so I take IB, and I chose it because I really liked the idea of doing 6 subjects, to put it simply. I like being well-rounded, just doing a variety of subjects. So while science is what I'm passionate about, I love that I still study Spanish and English. And then you have other aspects of the IB, like the extended essay and theory of knowledge. And these just allow you to see how all the different subjects you take interlink and how they interact and influence each other. And I think that's something really unique about the IB that interested me and made me want to do it. As for the future, at the moment I'm just following my nose, just doing what I love. I'm not really sure I have any long-term aspirations at this point.
It's been a bit of a funny old year, hasn't it, really?
Yeah.
So obviously there's a lot of co-curricular activities. There are sports, there are hobbies, saxophone being one of them. How on earth do you go about deciding how much you should do? Because I'm figuring obviously that you're there for an education, but clearly there are other bits to education. So how do you go about balancing that? And do you have people in the school that assist you with that balance? I'll ask Jacob first that question.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of support. Firstly, you have your tutor. So every pupil have a tutor, and they'll always be nagging at you to make sure that you're seizing all of the opportunities, similar with your housing and your parents. But I think as you progress through the school, the ownership's definitely more on you. And I think you almost have to be a little bit selfish because you don't want to be a yes man or woman because you can't do everything. So I think you really have to be selective. You can't do everything. And I think maybe choose a few things and then do them well, do them with passion, ambition. And I think that's the way you'll make the most out of your time.
And does the college teach you to balance that? Are you given a lot of support to say, well, your study should come first, and or are you really, really encouraged to just take every opportunity?
I think it's dependent on the time of year. So going into our final term with exams, I think there'll be less pressure on us to take part in music or drama, but definitely in the first few years, particularly in FY, you're really encouraged to have a go at everything, because at that point you might not know what you're really passionate about. So I think having a go at everything will enable you to make an informed decision.
Georgina, what about you?
Yeah, so I've definitely found myself in the situation a couple of times where I've just got too much on my plate. And so in the first term of lower six, I came to an agreement with my tutor, and because I really wanted to do both of the plays that were happening that term. And so I compromised and I said, if I can do both of these ones, I won't do any plays in upper sixth. So I can just focus on my work there and maybe catch up on anything I might have missed, because I'll have more time later. And people like tutors and housemasters, housemistresses are really good at helping you work out how much time you do actually have. I think at some point during Malvern, everyone's experienced just being overworked because they've got too many co-curricular activities going on at the same time, where they've just had maybe loads of work set during 1 week, which is unusual, but occasionally it happens, and I think everyone accepts that. It does help you learn how to manage your time better, definitely.
Also teaches you about negotiation skills. I love the fact that you've negotiated. I like that. That's very good. That's something that comes across very strongly, having spoken to a lot of the staff at the college, is that very much you're growing into adults all the way through the school. You're not treated like children, if you like. You get to make your decisions quite early on. Is that something you'd say was true?
Yes, definitely. In FY and Remove, you're expected to do this, this and this, but then you can choose how you do them most of the time. So I think the FYs have to complete, it's changed slightly since from when I was in FY.
All those years ago.
Yeah, I know. And now they've got to complete a certain number of co-curricular activities each week. But they don't get told, okay, you have to go to choir and you have to go to Foreign Affairs Society. It's completely up to them which ones they go to. And so even then you have the opportunity to start shaping your view of Malvern.
Malvern doesn't want, to tell you what to do. They don't. It's not as if they're forcing you down something. They want you to make your own decisions. And I think that would be my biggest advice, really, is to make your own journey. Because if you follow what your friends are doing, then they might have slightly different interests to you. So it's only by making your own decisions that you make the most of your time.
Now, Georgina, if you had a phone call and it was a young, fresh-faced pupil who was thinking about joining Malvern College, what single piece of advice? Well, actually, it doesn't have to be a single piece of advice. You might have more than a single piece. What would you say to them?
I would say do it. Come to Malvern. No, honestly, the house environment is amazing. The teachers are always there to support you. It's one of the things I love about Malvern. You can go to them and talk about anything academic, or maybe you just want a bit of advice. They're just there. And there are just so many opportunities. There just has to be something for everyone. And when you're at the college, don't be afraid to ask for help, because everyone's going to need it at some point. And especially when you're low down in the school, you can be afraid to ask for it. And in reality, everyone's going to need a bit of advice or a nudge in the right direction. And there are just so many people around, older students, houseums, tutors, the safeguarding team, everyone's there. And I just think people can be too scared to ask sometimes.
That's great advice. Jacob?
I'd say there's so many things which are out of your control. One thing you can control is the person that you want to be during Malvern. So I think it's really important to think about what qualities are important to you, how you're going to treat other people, how you'd like to be treated. You're all going to join a boarding house of 60 other boys or girls, so there's going to be times where people fall out and get upset, so be forgiving, be understanding. You're joining a group of people which are going to be with you for, well, depending on how long you're at the school, but you're going to make some friendships, so just think about the person you want to be. And another thing I'd say is work hard. No one wants to underachieve or not do the best that they can, because you don't want to be in that position, because if you can work hard, then you can enjoy all the amazing things that Malvern put on, because that's something which I really love about Malvern is, even though I've done some things 5 times, I always get excited about the Christmas suppers, the birthday events in the house. So you don't want to be worried about your work or your friendships. You want to have that sorted so you can enjoy all the great stuff.
You two are very inspirational. Thank you very much for joining me today. I feel like rushing down and joining you. It sounds like a wonderful place to be, and I wish you luck, both of you, in your careers. I figure we're going to be seeing you as a famous surgeon. Is that right, Jacob?
Oh, I hope so. We'll see.
And Georgina, we don't know what, but good luck with whatever you do. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that was Jacob and Georgina talking to us about life at Malvern College from a pupil perspective. Thank you to both of them for talking to us today. And don't forget, if you'd like to get to know the college even deeper, then go check out Malvern College on social. Whether it's Twitter, Instagram or Facebook, just search Malvern College. And to stay up to date with the next episode that's coming out soon, be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast channel so that when the next episode is released, you'll get a small notification just to ensure that you don't miss it. But until then, thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.